Greetings, travelers, and welcome. Today, I have a special story for all of you, much different than the rest. This story actually has to do with some of my past. What do you mean, perhaps? Well, I'll just get into the meat and bones of this story. It is centered around Naruto and Ghost. For those who do not know who Ghost is also known as the primordial god, the Shade Lord. The Shade Lord is an extremely overpowered deity, able to quite literally devour all of the light and power directly from the goddess of dreams and light. So yeah, that's OP enough as it is. And then he also has the ability to leave the dream world and basically bring chaos, ruin, and untold destruction to the mortal realm as well. However, even with all of this immense strength, size, and infinite power, as the genie says, phenomenal cosmic powers, itty bitty living space. What I mean by that? Well, Ghost is the Shade Lord, but not quite. More such, Ghost is the Shade Lord, and the Shade Lord is stuck inside of the white, hollow, sort of mask or head that Ghost appears to have. However, when you eventually reach the end of the storyline, his head breaks, and the Shade Lord is let loose. And freaking makes quick-ass work out of the goddess of dreams and light, the Radiance herself. But without any further ado, let's begin with what if Naruto was the vessel of the Shade Lord, Part 1. Before we begin, we must go to the very beginning. And the very beginning we will. Sorry about that. We begin, and as we see a tall, but not exactly tall, just very largely built creature with 8 glowing eyes, no mouth, and many horns. And a body which appears to be made out of some sort of liquid, inky-like shadow. He walks up, and he sees in front of him what can only be guessed as a child who he knew as Hornet. However, his childish memories and any sort of non-hostility towards Hornet and his friends was now long gone. With the mythic and unbeatable power of the Shade Lord came the price of becoming a husk devoid of emotions, devoid of care, life, happiness, anger. Without any emotions to guide him, the darkness and the mere void which he now was controlled him. It was like you were atom surrounded by over 30 fish swimming in a bowl. And like you were just a tiny fish surrounded by a million other fish swimming in a bowl, morphing it into different shapes and still surrounding you, drowning you. A void of thoughts, voices, insanity, darkness. It's not a place one would ever want to be, really. But Ghost had no control over his body, as he was hollow, a husk, devoid of anything which would make him a living creature. Now he was only an eldritch terror. Until his friend looked him dead in the eyes and did something she thought she would never have to do. But something she asked a blacksmith to prepare just in case a peaceful methods of negotiation wouldn't work. Ghost immediately charged at Hornet, not trying to stop himself, but he couldn't. All that remained was a ravenous beast of destruction. And that's why she did something unexpected. She pulled out a sort of nail. If you don't know, in Hollow Knight, nails are basically swords. This one, however, appeared to be made of a strange, reflective but malleable type of, reflective but shapeable type of substance. This caught the almighty Shade Lord off guard by a lot. And so, well, he had no clue what was happening, but he couldn't care. He wasn't confused, he was just destruction. But when he finally came to, it was already too late. He looked around and saw himself being dragged into, being shrunk and dragged into something. He felt confusion for what seemed like the first time in a very long time. He was confused and said, "What are you doing to me, Hornet? I thought you were my friend. What are you doing to me?" Hornet cried, letting only one tear escape her mask, her hollow white mask, showing she was sad. And a couple of moments later, Ghost's voice was quiet. Hold on. The nightmarish deity couldn't look at itself, but it knew what happened. Somehow, some way, somewhere, Ghost had found a blacksmith able to create a nail that could trap the god, the primordial gods inside. And so, he was sealed within the blade, called the Void Heart Nail. The blade itself, well, it was lost to time during another great war. This time, it was the Phantom Troop, and this time it was the Grim Troop, angered about something. They believe in the Grimm's eyes, in the Grim Troop's eyes, they saw what Hornet did as a great betrayal. This angered a lot of Grimm. This angered Grimm and the whole Grim Troop as well. And so they had an extremely dangerous war. Life and masks were shattered. Essence was thrown and broken, splattered the walls. Bits and pieces of nails, weapons, and clothes and masks were torn apart all over Dirtmouth. Now this creeped out. And now this was a terrifying sight. When the battle was over, however, due to the implications of it, somehow Void Nail was sent away. By Grimm, of course. Hoping that one day, without facing destruction inside of the blade, Ghost would be able to be free. However, before he could finish his dark rituals, she was stabbed in the leg by none other than the sewing needle of Hornet. And so, due to the process being messed up, the Void Heart Nail was sent flying, along with the Void Heart Charm. Well, no. The Void Heart Nail was sent flying through dimensions, until one day it landed in front of a red-haired woman named Kushina Uzumaki. She found the blade, and surprisingly enough, it was light. Not too light, though, and it could certainly do damage without any chakra, and without her putting her chakra in it or anything. The blade was able to cut trees down with ease. It was able to pierce through metal, and through the hardest metals with ease as well. She wondered what was this amazing blade's name, and who forged it. However, all that came with the blade was a case that said Void Heart. I'm the Void Heart Nail. She then figured that nails were what they called all the blade and their swords, wherever this sword came from. So The Void Heart nail was, the Void Heart blade was probably the strongest weapon in all of the elemental nations. Hell, not even the Goombai, nor the 7 great swordsmen of the mist would even match it. Because its abilities were devastating. The sword was extremely powerful until the night of the Ninetales attack. Kushina had the blade right next to her in case of the Ninetales breaking out or something, as she had found that the blade seemed to almost taint chakra. A flashback. She also figured out that she could bring the blade with her into her mindscape. So, one time when the fox was trying to take over her body, all she had to do was use the blade. At first, she tried using it to defend herself from this giant, terrifying fox, but what she didn't realize was that the second it touched the fox's body, since it was made of chakra, seemed to dissipate into black mist or smoke or dust that just flew away. Of course, the fox was able to regenerate from this just extremely lower than any normal attack that had been dealt to the fox. So, she decided that it would be a great way to also keep the beast under control if it were ever to escape. However, that night something awful happened. She had a son named she birthed one boy. And she birthed one boy. That was it. One child. And then a man came and kidnapped her child, but before kidnapping the child, he grabbed the Void Heart nail and broke it in half with his own 2 hands. While yes, the blade was nearly invincible in combat, its physical structure when it itself was being attacked was not that great. Only because it had seen many, many bad days of war. It was still extremely durable and extremely powerful, but this nicked the blade a bit too much. It cracked in half, almost as if it was a crystal. It shattered. Almost as if it was a crystal or glass, it shattered. And out from the blade came a black puddle. A large black puddle. As Obito Uchiha would summon Now Obito Uchiha would see this black puddle and would be distracted, as he would also be holding Naruto in his hands, wondering why the hell is a black puddle forming from that sword, as he wanted to take some of the black some of the black liquid for, research purposes. He wanted to know how he could weaponize this ultimate weapon and make it stronger. However, whilst he was staring at the and at the black liquid, Minato Rasenganed him right in the chest. Obito let go of the baby Naruto, and Naruto fell right into the large black puddle. At first, Minato and Kushina were worried the hell out, and were worried on astronomical levels, thinking Naruto had died. And from fall damage. But what they saw was something they weren't expecting. What they saw was Naruto's hair from the middle, and from the middle of the top of his hair, his head began to become pitch black, almost as if it was devoid of all light. And then even his eyes became the same way. Not even a tiny bit of white shined. Not even a shine could be seen in his eyes, except a pitch black void. But that was not all. Oh no, it was not at all either. A strange sort of gemstone or piece of jewelry formed on Naruto's back, and formed on Naruto's right palm. I mean, on Naruto's right arm. Basically, in the middle of his forearm, on the side with his palm. No. Okay, okay. What I want you to do is take your arm and place it flat down, right? Flat down on your knee. Now, the middle part of your forearm, arm right on top of that, the side which your knuckles are pointing, right there is this strange looking gemstone. As Naruto would have been called a freak by all except his parents, who understood something strange happened on that night. Hell, sometimes, out of her own curiosity, Kushina would use the would force the Nine Tails to give her large amounts of its chakra. She would then spar with Naruto using these large amounts of chakra, but to her and everyone else's surprise, when she tried attacking Naruto, it seemed as if a black sort of mist or liquid-like shadow crawled from Naruto's body at insanely fast speeds and began devouring the Kyuubi's chakra, corrupting it into a black, smoky, shadow-like liquid. Liquidy-like shadow. He was then concerned, and he was then thought of as the strongest weapon that the Leaf Village had, because not only did his abilities negate the power of the Nine Tails and other Biju, oh no, it negated any and all chakra. We learned this when they were 4 years old. When they were 3 years old. Fugaku wanted to test out a theory. And so he shot a extraordinarily large fireball at Naruto. Minato, of course, was about to flying Raijin the fireball away. But, strange enough, the fireball didn't hit Naruto. Neither did Minato use his flying Raijin. Instead, it seemed as if it turned into black smoke and dust the moment it it made contact with Naruto, seeming as if the entire attack was negated. Everyone started using other ninjutsu skills, seeing if they could harm Naruto. Hell, even Sarutobi tried using his ninjutsu. Nothing. No fireball, no fire style, no lightning style, no earth, water, or air styles could even touch Naruto. Because the second they would make contact with his body, they would basically be negated from existence. Danzo, instead of seeing Naruto as a monster, saw Naruto as the perfect weapon for the Leaf Village. As in his own words, with that, the boy had the power to negate, to basically deflect or erase any chakra-based ability. We've tried everything. The villagers and clans have tried everything, and even scratched the 3-year-old. Fireballs, lightning styles, tsunamis, nothing. Hell, even the Uzumaki's chakra chains did nothing to him. No, not even the Nara clan's shadow manipulation could do anything to him. When the Yamanakas tried possessing his mind, what they said really brought this to even more interest in my eyes. As we go to, the head of the Yamanaka clan and Ino's father. I think his name's Inochi or something like that. I can't remember. But anyways, in his own words, he said, hold on. Sorry about that. Back to the story. Inochi, the Yamanaka clan head himself, tried using his mind-possessing jutsu on Naruto. Even though Naruto is a 3-year-old, but what he saw was worse than anything he could have imagined, but more terrifying. At first, he saw what could only be guessed as a child wearing dark blue rags and this weird mask that covered his whole head with only 2 holes in it, not even a mouth, and what appeared to be 2 antler-shaped horns protruding out of the sides. He then said, "Hello? Who are you, and what are you doing in this young child's mind?" The creature looked over to Inochi Yamanaka, and all he did was look at him and create this weird chittering sound, which could only be guessed as some sort of speak. And then, out of nowhere, the head of this creature then split in two, cracked right down the middle, and started gushing out this large amount of black liquid, and black shadowy liquid, which then began rising up and eventually becoming solid, but still shadow-like, even gaining 8 giant-ass eyes and a humanoid form. The creature then opened its mouth, releasing a terror, and the creature then opened its mouth, I guess one could say, releasing a terrifying, bellowing shriek. One which started, and one which basically signaled death. When Inochi was pulled, and when Inochi canceled the jutsu, or woke up in the real world, his half of his entire chakra supply was gone, meaning he could not gain that chakra back, meaning his chakra banks were on, and his chakra pools were half the size which they were, and they can't grow any larger. This creature, whatever was in the young boy's mind, deleted his chakra. Deleted Inochi's chakra. Uchihas with the Sharingan even tried using genjutsus on him. And instead, those who were foolish enough to try and place Naruto under a genjutsu, lost their Sharingan, and instead got pure white voids for eyeballs. Everyone feared Naruto for this ability, but Danzo was amazed. He figured if he somehow got the 4th Hokage to allow him to train his son, he could turn Naruto into a weapon for the Leaf, the ultimate weapon. Eventually, in Danzo's mind, the Leaf Village would rule the entire world. Now, little did Danzo know that the 4th and 3rd Hokages were sneaking on him and discovered this. They then had him publicly executed. And Shisui, he basically pummeled the shiz out of him for hearing about his plans with the Uchihas. Same thing with Itachi. Itachi, who also tried using Amaterasu on Naruto. Yeah. Itachi used Amaterasu, as in, the black flames which devour and which continuously burn until a target is nothingness. What happened was the flames touched Naruto. And, they poofed into shadowy, liquidy smoke. Into smoky, liquidy shadow. And just poofed away. The same thing worked with chakra-infused weapons. Seals. Whatever you could name that used chakra. It basically said, ha, no. This made Naruto, a 3-year-old, feared greatly throughout the 5 great elemental nations. Throughout all of the entire world, even. However, one child, and a group of new arrivals to this world had grown a plan. And so we skip to Naruto's 4th birthday. He's a very skilled kid. Skilled with kunai, skilled with swordsmanship. Somehow, he's able to use a sword to basically pogo off of the ground or on enemies. And then mid-air, do like 50 different slashes, and then keep pogoing without falling or touching the ground. Even when he's in dangerous situations, like in an entire cave surrounded by deadly spikes. Hike pits. He can just simply jump and slash and somehow use this as a pogo technique to not allow himself to die. This was amazing. It was no secret that Naruto was viewed more than the exceptional regular. However, that day on Naruto's 4th birthday, the strangest thing happened. It seemed as if the moon itself turned red and black. It seemed as if the moon itself turned red and black as the skies turned blood red. Suddenly, 2 women walked in front of everyone. One lady wore a white mask covering her face. However, she had large red and black eyes with what could only be guessed as part of her face looking like it was made of red fire, and the other part of her face looking like it was made of the same liquidy shadow that Naruto used, and that Naruto basically turned any jutsu thrown at him into. But then she also had, covering a part of her body, this strange white sort of shell, as if it was a piece of flesh or bone even. Minato then said, "Halt! Who are you?" The lady then said, "Who am I?" "Ah, yes. I am Grimmery. Adopted child of the divine shade of the primordial horror. Birth child, however, blood child of the mistress of nightmares, and of the goddess of nightmares." As then Minato said, "Who are you really?" And she then said, "I just told you. Compared to you mortals, your chakra abilities, while strong against other mortals, are dust compared to me. Even your seals, taijutsu, and even your fancy high powers are nothing." As she would then say, "Now, I am here for to simply collect someone." Minato then said, "Who are you here for?" And she then smiled and said, "I am here for the one known as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Minato then said, "Why the hell are you after Are you here for my son? And she then said, Your son is far stronger than any human, even in this world, should be. That's simply because he isn't a normal human. At least, not anymore. When he was born, yes, he was born a full human, but when he was submerged within the void, and within the pieces of the void, which were accumulated, the void itself fused with your son, thus making him become something far greater. You see, the void, Mr. Namikaze. I'm the void, Lord Fourth. I'm the void, Yandame, a Hokage, or fourth Hokage, is a place where pretty much nothing exists except black darkness and emptiness. It is the very meaning of null, empty and lonely. After all, 1/3 of me is void. But your son, 9/10 of him is the void. And 1/10 of him is split in two halves. One half, Kushina, and the other half, you. You see, while I am an extremely powerful deity, I'm already blessed with fantastic powers such as shape-shifting, flight, regeneration, and immortality, age manipulation, and a whole lot of other abilities. Your son is the pinnacle of all of that. You might have noticed that nothing can harm him. No attack can harm him. No chakra using ability can harm him. Well, even if you weren't using chakra and you were just using a normal sword, and you cut off his arm, it would reform in almost an instant. After all, do you really expect the primordial of the void, the living void itself, to be weak? I said Minato and said, I don't understand. What do you mean, primordial of the void? And she would then say, allow me to tell you a bit more about your son, Minato Namikaze. The blade which your wife wielded, and you now have the two broken shards and the two broken fragments of it, are now an empty husk. Even if you were to put the blade together, it would not have its same properties as it once did. The reason being that blade itself was created as a container for the ultimate deity, the Shade Lord, as many called him. He was called the King of Nightmares. And he was called the Lord of Nightmares, the Master of Emptiness, the King of Nothing, and the entity of the Void. a dark entity like the Shade Lord was able to kill another extremely powerful entity. However, after he did this amazing feat of killing another entity, due to what the void is, the meaning of the void, he kind of lost himself. Allow me to elaborate a bit more. The void itself is negation. It's null. It's emptiness in all of its entirety. Basically, it is nothingness. Emotionless. Only hollows, and only the hollow, the husks, the motionless and the empty, can even have a chance at achieving this legendary power of the void. Or either that, or you're born with it. I was not turned into a mindless creature, however, into a mindless killing machine. However, because of my other side, my mother. Ah, yes. While my father was the deity of all deities, my mother was a very powerful being as well. Perhaps not on the same level as father, but she was certainly strong. Hell, in her younger years, she was able to defeat father before he could use a lot of his power. But now, well, she's basically overpowered by him. However, I'm getting off topic. Your son, Manto Namikaze. That blade which your wife wielded, the one which shattered and your son absorbed the essence from, it was created as a prison, or a vessel, a container for the Eldritch One himself, the Shade Lord, or his original name, Ghost. Ghost was a kind and peaceful knight who wanted to help others and adventure. His best friend in the world, also known as well, also known as the traitor Hornet, created a blade able to seal away and contain an elder and primordial being such as the Shade Lord himself. This was an ultimate betrayal. Even if the Shade Lord couldn't control himself, it was still an ultimate betrayal. To make matters worse, he regained consciousness as he was being contained, but she didn't stop. She sealed him away within the blade and tried to destroy it, so she could in turn destroy his very essence. My mother tried to bring the blade to one of the last places that we know of that would be safe. However, they attacked, and our Hornet attacked and messed up the ritual, thus sending the blade here. Your wife found it, and you know the rest. What I am saying is your son is pretty much the vessel for a primordial deity. No, vessel wouldn't be quite right. For now, your son occupies the same body as the primordial deity. However, when he is older, I have reason to suspect that the two will form and the two will fuse together to create an even stronger being. A being able to use the infinite power of the void and all the power of chakra as well. A being like that cannot be allowed to fall into the hands of the wicked mortals who would seek to corrupt him, as you have seen with the mortal Donzo. So, I am here to collect the boy and bring him to our holy place to our holy sanctuary. As Minato would then say, so hold on, you're going to kidnap my son? As Kushina was angry as well. And she would then say, not kidnap. I will merely bring him with me. After all, he is technically my father, adopted or not. Due to losing him, I gained power over the void, power over my rage and sadness. And now you're close as ever to receiving the Lord once more and stopping the chaos which has plagued both of our worlds. Now give him to me, or suffer. Gremory said to Minato. Minato then said, never. You're not getting my son. As he then tried using the flying Raijin. And, of course, tried using his flying Raijin and Rasengan ability, where he tried slamming a Rasengan into her back. However, out of her left arm, the side with the void coming out of it, what could only be guessed as, well, black shadowy tendrils appeared and sliced not only at the Rasengan, but also at Minato Namikaze himself, as it felt like a medium-sized portion of Minato's chakra was just deleted from existence, as the Rasengan itself was deleted from existence. As she would then say, behold, the power of the void. I only wield some of its incredible infinite power. Father wields much more than me. But I can still do this. As she would then begin spawning red friggin' pillars of flames out of nowhere. As she would then fly up and begin sending what appeared to be blades made out of what could only be guessed as some sort of strange carapace. This like material. As she kept sending out like 15 of these things per second. As eventually she would defeat Minato Namikaze and Kushina. And she would then say, weak. Even though you're humans and not strong as us gods, I'm strong as us primordials, I would have expected, and I expected a bit more of a challenge. Oh well, goodbye. As she would then spawn 4 very large tendrils with what can only be guessed as pincers at the end of them. As they would then wrap around Naruto and would carry him like a baby. As she would then say, goodbye. As she would disappear. We go to somewhere else. Somewhere within the hidden cloud. Just a newly built sort of sanctuary or temple. As she would then teleport, or within, and just appear within, and would say, Mother, Mother, where are you? As she would then see a ginormous, 6-winged demonic creature rushing through the halls and screaming in rage. And she would then say, Mother, calm down. I've got Ghost. I brought Papa. This would almost instantly cool down the girl, as her wings would then curve around and appear to turn to some sort of cape. Her claws would turn back into legs and arms, as her demonic face would turn back into a humanoid-looking head. As she would then say, You brought back Ghost? Where is he? Show me. As she would then say, however, his condition is a bit worse than we thought. He is a baby again. He is a mewling. A youngling. Again. As the woman, now known as Grimara, and Grandmaster Grimara, would then say, You're telling me that somehow, some way, out of my even with my own sheer annoyance, you're telling me that your father, the most powerful primordial to ever live, you're telling me that he was turned back into a mewling? How? As Grimmery would then say, it's a long story. As she would then tell her the whole story, as Grandmaster Grimara would then say, as much as I hate it, I can take care of the youngling. I can take care of your father. After all, I was able to take care of you by myself. Right? And when you went missing, right? As Grimmery would then say, fair enough, Mother. As she would then disappear into red, black, and white flames. As Grandmaster Grimara would then say, finally, little ghosty. You have no idea how long we've searched for you, how much we've conquered, how wide and far we've searched and obliterated. Mortals are so annoying. But we were able to find you in this world and make ourselves our own little personal castle. I know it isn't that much, But it's only the beginning of a glorious empire. After all, soon, soon, our primordial lineage, our primordial legionnaires and warriors will arrive to this realm as well, in a span of a couple of years. Years, although. But during that time, I can raise you to be the perfect king, and to be the perfect god I want in a man. Perfect. As she would then lick her lips. As we go somewhere else. The village hidden in the leaves, to be exact. As we see a girl, a 4-year-old, being bullied. She is screaming. Hold on. As we see a little girl, not in the leaf village, no. In the sand village. Sleeping. This little girl is none other than Tamari Sabaku. Tamari is sleeping when she sees something in her dreams. What she sees is adorable. She sees a white and she sees this sort of golden, white-looking, fluffy creature. And she then says, "Who are you?" The white, fluffy creature then turns around and stares at Tamari with what can only be guessed as eyes made of pure gold. And then suddenly, a loud, adult female voice booms, sounding as if it's an omnipresent being's voice, booms from all directions, as it then says, "Welcome, young one. Welcome, youngling. Welcome to your mindscape, the realm of your dreams, the realm of your fantasies. I am the Radiance, but you may just call me Rady, or Raid for short. You may call me Rady or Raid for short." As Tamari would then say, "What are you?" As Raid would then say, "I am a god of dreams, of light, of control, of heaven. And of course, of moths and owls, of wisdom and intelligence. However, and I am, here because I am in a way, you're my reincarnation, in a way. You see, many years ago, I was alive, a living creature, just like you. And I fought another deity, one whom I underestimated so much because of what he looked like. However, I was the fool for my son for underestimating him. He obliterated me with ease. And he obliterated me at his full power. I'm without full power. With ease, he obliterated me. I greatly underestimated my opponent, but instead of doing what he was planning to do, which was devour my very life essence and all of my power, instead he took just enough to be strong and just enough to do what he required to do what he was required to do, which was stop a disease or curse I had brought forth to the realm of mortals. He left me lingering in survival, a wandering soul. I watched every event afterwards, and I saw the one who had defeated me with such grace and power and showed me mercy die. Well, not die. He was betrayed and then sealed away into a sword. Of course, I hitchhiked on that sword, but when it broke, he was nothing. Nothing but the essence of the void itself. The void is what he was, the primordial of the void, the Shade Lord, or his true name, Ghost. However, he had been almost completely destroyed. All that remained was the pieces of the void contained within that blade. They fused. However, those pieces of the void merged with a boy named Naruto Uzumaki. Meaning that when that boy is older, he and the Shade Lord will become one separate being, and one completely different being. One stronger than any. I adore the Shade Lord. I have since he defeated me, and even since before. Although back then, I merely wanted him as a champion, and of mine, to do my bidding, and perhaps marry me as a concubine. However, he was stronger than I anticipated, and now I want more. More indeed. My soul, however, after being freed from that wretched blade, was brought here, and was brought into you 4 years ago. I only now decided to talk to you because I felt like it. Now behold, my true form. As suddenly it would feel as if Tamari was in a room filled with 1 trillion suns, as the tiny creature before her turned into an extremely fluffy owl, moth, angel, god thing, seeming as if it was made of the sun itself, as she would then say, "Behold the true form of radiance, the true form of divine perfection." Now, I do not care about your selfish about your desires, your dreams, your hopes, and whatever pathetic, human, mortal accomplishments you have. No, What I am here for is the same thing that the Shade Lord and Naruto will do eventually. I am here to forcefully fuse you and me into one. As she would then turn into and in her true god form, dash at Tamari and wrap around her with her very large moth owl feather wing things. And she would then almost engulf and suffocate her within the large amount of fluff. As she would then have her two wings surround her like a giant cocoon until her body began to glow a bright gold and white, and a bright gold and white color. It then exploded, revealing a new being in control of Tamari's mind. The new being known as, well, I don't exactly have a name for her. In the comments, could you please tell me what should the new Radiance/Tamari fusion be named? Please like, and that is all for this video. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye. Have an amazing weekend, and skadoosh.